Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
I'm Corey Evan, coming up in the Weekender. ISIS are at it again, this time in Tunisia. It's a major blow to traditional marriage in our continuing battle against global socialism. A cop ends up on the wrong side of justice for his Confederate panties. Hashtag crime and pinheads. The search is on for America's next weatherman. Sorry, Al Roker. And I have ideas for where you may celebrate our independence next Saturday. Yes, I'm saying it that loud on purpose just to annoy the liberals. Never mind, the Weekender starts now.
Making sense of the week's news and most of your weekend from Southern California. This is the SHR Weekender with Corey Evan.
Happy weekend to you this weekend before the 4th of July weekend. I'm Corey Evan saying it's very cloudy here in SoCal, but we could use the cloud cover. It's been really hot around here. And it's also been hot in Tunisia. Assailants beheaded, bombed, and gunned down victims on 3 continents Friday, killing more than 60 people and raising fears that a global surge of terror strikes could be imminent, according to the Washington Post. There was initially no reason to believe the disparate attacks at a factory in France, a beach resort in Tunisia, and a mosque in Kuwait were connected. But then ISIS asserted responsibility for 2 of them, first the bombing in Kuwait in which 25 died, and later in a separate statement, the assault on the beach in Tunisia which killed 39. The second statement contained a warning that more attacks soon will follow. Quote, let them wait for the glad tidings of what will harm them in the coming days, Allah permitting, it said, referring to the apostates who had been the target of the assault, apostates in quotation marks. The 3 incidents followed an appeal Tuesday from ISIS's spokesman Abu Muhammad al-Adnani to mark the holy month of Ramadan by carrying out acts of jihad or holy war. The attack suggested that some may have heeded his word. ISIS asserted responsibility for the attack in Kuwait, saying in a statement circulated on social media accounts that one of its members, Abu Sulaiman al-Mawahid, targeted the mosque because it had been used to try to convert Sunni Muslims to the Shiite branch of Islam. It was too early to say whether ISIS was connected to the French attack or whether the strike was conducted on behalf of ISIS or was inspired by its propaganda. A Pentagon spokesman, Colonel Steve Warren, said U.S. officials are investigating possible links, but the timing and geographical scope of the violent acts appeared likely to play into ISIS's narrative that it is posing an ever greater threat to global security, analysts said. Stay with us here at SHR Media. We will keep an eye on what's going on with ISIS and all of its deadly attacks, and we will bring you the latest as details become available. Next up from The Hindu, Iran warned on Friday that some major problems need to be resolved before a historic nuclear deal can be agreed on, as U.S. Secretary of State John F. Kerry prepared to fly to Vienna for crunch weekend talks. The U.S., admitting for the first time that Tuesday's deadline may be missed by a few days, had said Thursday that tough political decisions, quote-unquote, still have to be made and that some of the trickiest issues remain under discussion. Iran's lead negotiator Abbas Araghchi said, quote, some major problems exist which are still blocking the work. Mr. Araghchi, who is deputy foreign minister, however, said that in other areas we have made good progress. Overall, the work is moving ahead slowly and with difficulty. Meanwhile, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, an awesome man, has said world powers can still insist on a better deal with Iran. Mr. Netanyahu told a graduating class of pilots on Thursday that it is still not too late to insist on a good deal. So will a good deal come up? I'm not so sure on that, but we will keep an eye on it nonetheless, and we'll bring you the details as they come up. Eurozone finance ministers have rejected a Greek request to extend a bailout program beyond June 30th, according to the BBC. A Eurogroup statement said Greece had broken off negotiations over a new bailout deal unilaterally. Late on Friday, Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras called a surprise referendum for the 5th of July over the terms of any new deal. Greece has to pay 1.6 billion euros to the IMF on Tuesday. Without new funds, there are fears Greece may leave the euro and its economy may collapse. Eurogroup head Jeroen Dijsselbloem said finance ministers would reconvene to discuss the consequences of the latest developments. They were determined to maintain the strength and credibility of the Eurozone, he said. It would be up to the European Central Bank to determine whether to continue providing emergency liquidity funding to the Greek banking system, he added. Greek Finance Minister Yanis Varoufakis said the Eurogroup's refusal to extend the bailout could permanently damage the credibility of the group. Mr. Varoufakis said Greece has asked for an extension of a few days, a couple of weeks, whereas Mr. Dijsselbloem said an extension of 1 month had been requested. In Greece, queues have formed outside banks amid concerns that Greece's central bank might start restricting withdrawals. Throughout the ups and downs of the recent negotiations, Greeks have by and large resisted the urge to withdraw money from their accounts, pinning their hopes on a last-minute deal with the country's creditors. Probably not so smart. But as the deadline for Greece's €1.6 billion payment to the IMF looms, and with Mr. Tsipras calling for a referendum next week, lines have begun to form outside ATMs and bank branches in Athens. One bank has imposed withdrawal limits of €3,000 per account, and some ATMs have handwritten empty signs on them, although the BBC's Joe Miller managed to withdraw cash at 2 separate locations. At least that's what he claims. And as I read further into this report, one man is saying the game is over. Another, a woman in her 20s, says that as she waits to withdraw cash, she's just trying to get through the week, essentially. So I'm going to go ahead and post this up on the Facebook page, facebook.com/SHR Weekender, and you get to read for yourself just how bad things are in Athens. Let's just say I'm not vacationing there anytime soon. Coming home to the U.S., according to the Canada Journal, Boston Marathon bomber Dzhokhar Tsarnaev was transferred to a high-security federal prison in Colorado on Thursday, 1 day after being formally sentenced to death for his role in the blasts. Tsarnaev had previously been held at a prison facility in Devens, Massachusetts, west of Boston. At Wednesday's hearing, after listening to 24 survivors of the attack and relatives of victims, Tsarnaev addressed the court for the first time. Quote, "I am sorry for the lives I have taken, for the suffering that I have caused you, for the damage I have done, irreparable damage," he told the court. Just another sign that the devil will not support his minions in their hour of need. But at any rate, the prisoners at the super maximum security penitentiary in Florence have no cellmates, and recreation is solitary, according to a former federal prison warden who testified during Tsarnaev's trial. Inmates at the facility include Oklahoma City bomber accomplice Terry Nichols, underwear bomber Umar Farouk Abdul Muttalib, and Unabomber Ted Kaczynski. And to think that's where he's going to be while they try to appeal this thing. Let's just hope that they are unsuccessful. Thank you very much. And from the Fresno Bee out of California, the parole of David Weidert, who was convicted of torturing Mike Morganti and burying him alive in 1980, has been reversed by Governor Jerry, he stinks, Brown, the governor's office announced Friday. Weidert lured Morganti from his Clovis apartment and drove him to a remote foothill location. There he forced Morganti to dig his own grave, and then Weidert beat him with an aluminum bat and stabbed him with a knife before burying him in the shallow grave. I have considered the evidence in the record that is relevant to whether Mr. Weidert is currently dangerous, Brown said in a statement. When considered as a whole, I find the evidence shows that he currently poses an unreasonable danger to society if released from prison. Therefore, I reverse the decision to parole Mr. Weidert. Yes! John Weidert, father of David, could not be reached for comment Friday. Morganti and Weidert worked as janitors in a doctor's office, and in June 1980, Weidert convinced Morganti to serve as a lookout while he burglarized the office. Morganti was developmentally disabled and easily manipulated, court documents said. After Weidert was arrested for his part in the burglary, Weidert learned that Morganti had given him up to authorities, and so he plotted to kill him. The governor's decision to keep Weidert in jail reverses the decision made by the State Board of Parole hearings in January. Morganti's sister, Vicky Van Duyn, who has worked tirelessly over the years to keep Weidert behind bars, said, quote, "I'm crying. I just can't stop crying. I just can't believe it." She knew Brown's decision was coming Friday, and she was expecting the worst. "I go by worst-case scenarios," Van Duyn said. "What's the worst thing that can happen?" But after sitting and waiting all day, she and her family decided to go out to dinner. And as we're learning, at least that decision was justified. But the battle isn't over. Now it's on to the next parole hearing. Van Duyn doesn't know when that will be, but said probably in the next 6 to 9 months. It comes quickly because the State Parole Board must decide what to do with Weidert now that Brown has reversed its decision. Van Doon, who now lives out of state, said she'll be at the hearing. Mrs. Van Doon, let us know what happens, okay? My heart goes out to you in this whole thing. This is not something I like to hear about. And I don't like to hear this either. It's a major blow to traditional marriage in our continuing battle against global socialism. The Supreme Court ruled Friday that same-sex couples have a right to marry nationwide in a historic decision that invalidates gay marriage bans in more than a dozen states. Gay and lesbian couples already can marry in 6 states and the D.C., but in a 5-4 ruling, the court held that the 14th Amendment requires states to issue marriage licenses for same-sex couples and to recognize such marriages performed in other states. The ruling means that the remaining 14 states that did not allow such unions in the South and Midwest will have to stop enforcing their bans. Already, gay marriages were underway yesterday in several states where they had been banned. A court in Atlanta issued marriage licenses to 3 same-sex couples Friday morning soon after the decision. Other licenses reportedly were issued in Arkansas and Texas, where Governor Greg Abbott also issued a memo directing state agency heads to protect religious liberties. Justice Anthony Kennedy wrote the majority opinion just as he did in the court's previous 3 major gay rights cases dating back to 1996. Kennedy wrote, joined by the court's 4 more liberal justices, quote, "No union is more profound than marriage. Under the Constitution, same-sex couples seek in marriage the same legal treatment as opposite-sex couples and would disparage their choices and diminish their personhood to deny them this right," unquote. The outcome is the culmination of 2 decades of Supreme Court litigation over marriage and gay rights generally. Cheers broke out outside the Supreme Court when the decision was announced, though among religious circles nationwide, heartbreak has broken out. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I have to draw my line at the temple. I'm a Mormon, you know that. And a reason why we don't allow gay marriages to happen inside of our temples, it's an abomination before God. It is! I mean, no offense to gays. If you want to be gay, that's fine. Just leave me out of it. But I draw my line at the temple. I will not have any earthly abominations corrupting the heavenly beauty of those 4 walls. I just won't have it. No. But yeah, this decision is a very upsetting one, ladies and gentlemen. Especially us who believe that the judgments of God are ready to start raining down on us if we don't do something to protect traditional marriage. And an activist climbed a flagpole outside the South Carolina state capitol early on Saturday and took down the Confederate flag, state officials said, a day after U.S. President Obama called the banner a symbol of racial oppression. The Civil War-era flag had been a focal point for soul-searching across the southern U.S. in the aftermath of the fatal shooting last week of 9 African Americans during a Bible study session at a historic church in Charleston, South Carolina. The suspects in the shooting, Dylan Roof, had posed with a Confederate flag in photos posted on a website that also displayed a racist manifesto. Following the removal of the flag in Columbia, 2 people were arrested and charged with defacing a monument, the South Carolina Department of Public Safety said in a statement. The banner was replaced within an hour and no further damage was caused, it said. A group of local activists said they organized the removal of the flag, which by law flies at a memorial on the State House grounds honoring soldiers who fought on the side of the pro-slavery Confederacy during the American Civil War of the 1860s. At a funeral for the slain pastor in Charleston on Friday, Obama called the banner, quote, a reminder of systemic oppression and racial subjugation. For too long we were blind to the pain the Confederate flag stirred in too many of our citizens, unquote. The South Carolina legislature is expected to begin debate next week on a measure allowing the state to remove the flag from the memorial. It flies there in keeping with legislation passed in 2000 that removed the crimson and blue banner from the top of the Capitol dome in response to the demands of protesters. And let us hope that this shooting in Charleston will serve to some folks as a reminder that we need to come together as one nation to stand in the face of adversity. So, who's responsible for the government losing their gonads? Who made the world so insensitive to freedom? And who left this pile of manure on my rose garden? Never mind, it's really handy. Thank you. Stay tuned for developments in our continuing battle against global socialism. Coming up after the break, speaking of Confederate flags, a police officer who wore Confederate flag undies is on the wrong side of crime and pinheads. A new game show is on its way, searching for America's next top weatherman. So sorry, Al Roker, but your job is toast. And I look across the nation for good places where we all may enjoy our nation's birthday. Stay tuned. After the break, we will return on the SHR Weekender.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. You didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying calf for the stupid promo.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on SHRmedia.com.
You're listening to the SHR Weekender on SHRmedia.com. Once again, here's Corey.
I thank you as always, Sackhead Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, for welcoming me back to the SHR Weekender. As you know, the Sackheads are on every Wednesday, 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific, right here on SHRmedia.com, and I can't wait to see them rip Obama on the latest ruling on gay marriage. Go for the jugular vein, guys. Right for the old jugular. Never mind, it's time to find out who botched their crimes this week in Crime and Pinheads. Oh yeah, it's that time of the week where we find out who did something so stupid in committing their crimes that it was only a matter of time before I got to rip on them. North Charleston, South Carolina is where Walter Scott, an unarmed black man, was shot in the back and killed by a white police officer in April. The officer's in jail on a murder charge. It's not too far from the site of the Charleston church shooting last week. But if you're from that area, perhaps it's therefore unwise to post a Facebook picture of yourself wearing nothing but a pair of boxer shorts adorned with the Confederate flag. This according to CNET. The flag, which represented the 11 southern states that seceded from the Union during the Civil War, is at the center of a nationwide debate after the shooting in Charleston. Many people associate the flag with slavery and view it as a racist symbol. Still, some would argue it's your freedom of speech, one that was exercised by Shannon Dildine. However, was this a wise exercise in self-expression given that Dildine is a sergeant in the North Charleston Police Department? Or rather, was. As WCIV-TV reports, Dildine was fired on Thursday after his photo spread rather quickly. North Charleston Chief of Police Eddie Driggers issued this statement, quote, "Your posting in this manner led to you being publicly identified as a North Charleston police officer and associated both you and the department with an image that symbolizes hate and oppression to a significant portion of the citizens we are sworn to serve." CNET has contacted North Charleston Police to ask for further comment and will update should they hear. Dildine has 10 days to appeal his firing. But if I were the officials handling the appealing of the firing, it would be appeal denied.
I don't want to hear it.
Sorry. The Colorado man who blasted a malfunctioning computer with a volley of shots from his 9mm pistol has pled guilty to a criminal charge stemming from the April execution, according to court records. Lucas Hinch, according to the Smoking Gun, copped to discharging a firearm within the city limits of Colorado Springs, where he operates a homeopathic herb store with his girlfriend. Oh, great. This one's from the city of marijuana. As part of a plea deal, a municipal court judge placed Hinch on a 6-month deferment, a probationary period that requires him to not commit any new legal infractions. Upon successful completion of the terms of the deferment, the misdemeanor charge against Hinch will be dismissed. In an email, Hinch told TSG that he did not anticipate shooting any more computers. Yeah, I'm sure there's more humane ways to kill a computer. I myself would probably just climb on my roof and just drop it onto the pavement below. And if you steal shrubbery from a cemetery, you, my friend, are in grave danger. Members of a Perry County family are wondering why someone vandalized the gravesite of their loved ones. The vandals dug up 3 bushes and stole them from a small cemetery in the Jeff community of Kentucky Wednesday. Quote, "I think it's just about as low as you can get to come down to a graveyard and steal something off of a graveyard," said Betty Green, whose parents, Ray and Ada Davis, are buried at the gravesite that was vandalized. Green's sister, Janice Bowling, called it heartbreaking. Bowling said she spent nearly $200 on the bushes. Family members said the thieves left a cell phone and a garbage bag near the gravesite. The family said they are thinking of installing security cameras near the cemetery. It's a very sad time when we have to install security cameras to protect the bodies and the grave sites of those who are long hence departed. Why? And now, ladies and gentlemen, next weekend is the 4th of July. I'm going to be working on something special for the 4th of July weekend, but in the meantime, I'm sure you're working on where on earth, or at least where in America, you will be celebrating the birth of this great nation. So, I decided to take some time out from my busy work week, and I compiled a few little lists from across the interwebs of some of the best places where you can sit down and watch the fireworks bursting in the air. First, from worldweb.com travel, it seems fitting that the city of Boston is home to one of the top 10, as it was central in the American fight for freedom, of course. The first large-scale revolt against British rule occurred right in the harbor itself. Of course, you remember the little Boston Tea Party, right? Well, since then, the harbor has started up a little harbor. Well, since that little tea party, Harborfest, a multifaceted event that showcases the colonial and maritime heritage character of Boston, has managed to sail into that harbor. The week of the festival spans the 4th itself and consists of several main features: Children's Day, several live concerts, the party on the plaza, and Chowderfest, where you can sample some of the best clam chowder from across Boston. Or if you want to travel to the opposite corner of the country, every year thousands of people gather at the beaches, so why not? Hop on a little kayak and watch the bombs bursting in air from the Pacific. Or you could go to the Virgin Islands. They're renowned for their beaches, crystal blue waters, delicious rum. Well, you can enjoy the rum. Leave me out of it. But it is perhaps the best kept party secret of the 4th of July weekend. They have their own national celebrations of Emancipation Day. This day slavery was abolished in the Caribbean, and it takes place July 3rd, meaning that the parties last twice as long. Or you could risk getting your feet wet and go to New Orleans, you know, where jazz and blues live. With a touch of Mardi Gras style, the music starts before noon with free concerts at various spots along the riverfront, from the French Market to the Riverwalk Marketplace. And at 7:30, the renowned New Orleans concert band begin their show overlooking the Mississippi, which is followed by a dueling barges fireworks display. After the winner of the duels announced, the music, drinking, and parties last well into the night. So if that's your sort of thing, you go right ahead. Oh, here's another one in California. You can even watch the fireworks from aboard Queen Mary. Yes, I know I'm hopscotching back and forth on the coasts of America looking for these great parties, but here's another one from Philadelphia. There's an enormous free concert in Penn's Landing in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, featuring several popular musical acts as well as ongoing food tastings, educational activities, and sports games. I recommend you go for the educational activities. Learn up on how our freedom came to be and what you need to do to maintain it. Living up to the claim that everything is bigger in Texas, the city of Houston is home to America's largest fireworks display on the 4th of July. It's been dubbed Freedom Over Texas and is themed in authentic Texan country style. All-day concerts run at the city's premier public venue at Eleanor Tinsley Park, and entertainment is provided by a number of big names in country music. In the hours prior to the concert, festival goers can enjoy a wide array of expositions, activities, and games for the whole family. This day-long party is not one to be missed by visitors to Houston. Or you can go to Mount Rushmore. Where better to celebrate a nation's beginnings than at the site dedicated to its fathers? Visitors to the area over the 4th of July can experience and take part in educational programs and entertainment, as well as bands, presidential reenactors, and children's programs that are scheduled throughout the 3rd and 4th. I just hope that they don't have an Obama impersonator there.
Well, if you do need a Clinton impersonator, I know a guy. Just ask me for his resume later.
Or if you're one who likes Tennessee, go to Gatlinburg. There's plenty to see and do along the streets of this small town in the Smoky Mountains, and the festivities don't end with the parade. There's a popular river raft regatta which takes place at noon on the 4th, beginning at the River Terrace Bridge on River Road, and ending at Ripley's Aquarium. What a great place to end it! You hop off the boat and go right into the aquarium and see jellyfish swimming free. And when it comes to the all-American celebrations of the nation's birthday, her capital city is undoubtedly one of the forerunners. The week leading up to the big day features an array of events, including the renowned Smithsonian Folklife Festival, featuring daily programs of music, song, dance, crafts, and storytelling. All elements are in celebration of cultures and diversity. But never mind, they've got a National Independence Day parade taking place most fittingly along Constitution Avenue. So if you can see past the socialism that some folks have inserted into this little celebration, you can find that the taste of American freedom is still fresh to this very day. Just gotta get out there and look for it. Hopefully you can heed some of my suggestions, or you can find celebrations that feel right near your home. But no matter what you do, get on out there and celebrate the 4th of July while it's still okay to do so. Coming up after the break, we have the search for a new weatherman going in the game show world. A very odd thing. And your tip of the week involves how to decorate your outdoor space. I'm Corey Evan. You're listening to the SHR Weekender on shrmedia.com. I'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Paul, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is my professor, Dr. Larry Arnn, on the separation of church and state.
America's founders believed in the separation of church and state, in that the country was not to have an official religion or an official sect. But that did not mean that government was to be hostile to religion, or even indifferent to religion, as many today argue. In fact, America's founding document, the Declaration of Independence, includes both a reference to God as the author of the laws of nature and a confident assertion that human beings are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Far from being hostile or indifferent to religion, America's founders understood the theology of the Declaration to be an essential part of the education of citizens.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
I'm Corey Evan, the Game Show Geek. It is Saturday, June 27th. Here's your Game Show News Minute. TBS is about to bring some stormy competition to late night with the brand new series Funny or Die presents America's Next Weatherman, produced by Mark Burnett and United Artists Media Group. 12 competitors will vie for a job as America's next great weathercaster. Matt Oberg will host and will be judged by longtime weatherman personalities Johnny Mountain of KABC and Jillian Barbary of Good Day LA. It's set to premiere Saturday, August 8th at 11 p.m. Sorry, Al Roker, you're not eligible. Project Runway is spinning off and getting renewed. Season 14 and Emmy Award winners Heidi Klum and Tim Gunn round out the fashion dream team with judges Nina Garcia, fashion director at Marie Claire, and designer Zach Posen on the eminent. Currently in production, the flagship series returns with all new designers ready to sew up the competition on Thursdays, beginning on August 6th, Mom. Check it out. Fox, still reeling from the recent announcement of the cancellation of American Idol, claimed silver this week with the debut of Boom. So, in essence, their new show, Boom, was hoping to boom the ratings, but claiming second place, I guess they see it as a bust. Never mind, that's your Game Show News Minute for this week. Have a great day. And now that the weather has cooled slightly around here, it gives me a chance to go shopping for new patio furniture, which brings us to my tip of the week. Here's a tip that my mother-in-law actually gave me this week when it comes to getting the grill. You might be weighing the difference between gas or charcoal grills. Now, while you might be leaning toward charcoal because it adds better flavor to every piece of steak you're cooking, you might want to consider going with gas instead, because over time, gas is much cheaper and much more efficient to run than charcoal. And besides, you'll be able to start the grill faster with gas than with charcoal. If you shop around, do your homework, and get the best deals that you can find, it'll leave you with plenty of money to buy plenty of steaks for plenty of your friends, and have plenty of fun on this Independence Day weekend coming up next week. And that is your SHR Weekender for this Saturday, June 27th, 2015. Get out there and have some fun, or not. The choice is yours.